Ever heard of a sculpture so intriguing, it leads you down this rabbit hole of art, science, and even romance?
Sounds pretty captivating.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, a deep dive into the story behind the hunter. It's this captivating piece by Chern Lian San. But what's really fascinating is how it kind of unveils the legacy of a true Singaporean pioneer,
Someone we should all know.
Dr. Lee Kum Tatt. And the story explores how all his passions intertwined in the most unexpected ways.
I'm intrigued already. So where do we start with this hunter sculpture?
Yeah, let's start there. So the hunter is not just any sculpture you'd find at, your local gallery. It's a limited edition piece by Chern Lian San.
Oh, I've heard of him. He's the artist behind those amazing sea lions at the Expo Gateway, right?
That's him. He originally hails from Taiwan. But you're right, he's really made his mark on the Singapore art scene.
You can spot his work all over Singapore, like at the Institute of Education or even along the Singapore River.
Oh yeah, you're thinking of fishing.
Yeah.
It really captures Singapore's connection to the water, doesn't it?
Absolutely. His talent is undeniable. He even snagged the first prize in 3D art at the Singapore Art Award competition. Not an easy feat.
Truly a master. But let's get back to the story. What's the connection between this renowned artist and Dr. Lee Kum Tatt? And why was the hunter specifically created to raise funds for the Singapore Professional Center?
Ah, that's where the plot thickens. See, Dr. Lee wasn't just a name behind an organization. This guy was a driving force in Singapore's development across a multitude of fields. Science, education, economics, you name it. It's like he wore a different hat every day, and each one was more impressive than the last.
Okay, I'm listening. Lay it on me.
Well, for instance, he served as a senior biochemist at the Ministry of Health starting in 1967.
Wait, so a biochemist A&D, he was involved in founding the Singapore Professional Center. That's a wild combination.
Oh, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Think about Singapore Polytechnic, a key institution in the country's education landscape. Well, Dr. Lee served on its board of governors for an incredible 35 years, from 1959 all the way to 1994.
Wow, that's longer than some people's entire careers.
Exactly. His dedication to shaping the future generation is crystal clear there. But wait, there's more. He was also the deputy director of the Economic Development Board.
Oh, wow. So he played a big role in Singapore's economic rise.
Absolutely pivotal. And get this, he was also instrumental in establishing the Science Council of Singapore. It's like he had a hand in shaping every single aspect of Singapore's growth.
It's truly remarkable. No wonder he received the Public Administration Medal in both silver and gold, as well as that esteemed public service star.
His contributions are undeniable, but what I find particularly fascinating is how he blended his scientific mind with this, artistic flair.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. Is this where the gold-plated orchids come in? Because I have to admit, I'm a little lost on how those fit into the picture.
Yes. The gold-plated orchids. That's a story that perfectly showcases Dr. Lee's ingenuity, but also his romantic side.
Do tell.
So picture this. It's 1955. Dr. Lee is strolling through the Singapore Botanic Gardens with his wife, Angeline.
I can already see it. Lush greenery, stunning flowers, the scent of orchids in the air.
Exactly. Angeline, completely captivated by the orchids, remarks how she wished they could last forever. And right there, an idea sparks in Dr. Lee's mind. He sees a way to merge his scientific expertise with his wife's heartfelt wish.
So he sets out to make those orchids last forever, literally.
He does. Combining his knowledge of chemistry with his love for his wife, Dr. Lee develops this groundbreaking technique to plate live orchid blooms with gold.
That sounds incredibly complex.
It definitely was. It actually took him nearly 20 years to perfect the technique. But finally, in 1974, he presents Angeline with the Oncidium Angeline Lee.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's this beautiful gold-plated orchid named in her honor. And get this very orchid becomes the prototype for all future RISIS products.
Wait, RISIS? Like those gold-plated orchids tourists always buy as souvenirs?
Bingo. RISIS, which, by the way, cleverly stands for SIHR, the Singapore Institute of Standards and Industrial Research, but spelled backwards, was founded by Dr. Lee in 1976 to bring his gold-plated orchids to market. And let me tell you, they instantly became a sought-after symbol of Singapore.
So these gold-plated orchids represent way more than just a pretty souvenir, right? They embody this blend of science, art, and romance, a testament to Dr. Lee's multifaceted nature. But how does all of this tie back to the hunter and the Singapore Professional Center?
That, my friend, is what we're about to explore. You see, the Hunter isn't just some random piece commissioned for fundraising. It's a window into understanding Dr. Lee's driving force, his belief in the power of continuous learning, and the importance of embracing new knowledge to shape the future.
Okay, now I'm really hooked. You've piqued my curiosity about how the hunter symbolizes Dr. Lee's vision. I'm all ears.
Well, let's delve into that. We'll unpack the significance of the sculpture and explore how it embodies Dr. Lee's unwavering commitment to education, specifically through the Singapore Professional Center.
Sounds like a plan. I'm ready to hear more about this fascinating connection between art, science, and Dr. Lee's incredible legacy.
Let's dive in.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the remarkable legacy of Dr. Lee Kum Tatt. We were just discussing those exquisite gold-plated orchids.
Such a beautiful testament to his ability to merge science, art, and his own passions.
Absolutely. But let's bring our focus back to the hunter and the Singapore Professional Center. We left off on how the sculpture actually reflects Dr. Lee's vision. Can you maybe shed some light on that connection for us?
Of course. To really grasp the meaning behind the hunter, we need to think about Singapore in those early 1960s. The nation was going through this huge period of change, driven by industrialization and economic growth, and that created a demand for a skilled and adaptable workforce.
So traditional education, it wasn't enough to keep up with that rapid pace of change.
Exactly. And Dr. Lee, he recognized that. He knew that for Singapore to truly thrive, people needed access to professional development continuously. Those opportunities to enhance their existing skills, learn new ones, to really stay ahead.
So that's where the Singapore Professional Center comes in.
You got it. That was Dr. Lee's answer to that challenge. He envisioned the center as this bridge connecting formal education with the needs of the ever-changing workforce, a place where professionals from all sorts of backgrounds could come to upskill and adapt.
I find it remarkable that this idea of lifelong learning, which we hear about all the time today, was already something Dr. Lee was championing back in the 60s. He was so ahead of his time.
A true visionary, that's for sure. And his dedication to lifelong learning wasn't just about setting up the center. Remember, he was also super involved in shaping Singapore's entire education scene. That 35-year stint on the board of Singapore Polytechnic, that shows it.
Yeah, we touched upon his role at Singapore Polytechnic, but can you elaborate on his contributions there? What kind of lasting impact did they have?
Well, his time at Singapore Polytechnic spanned a period of immense growth. He held a ton of leadership positions, including serving as chairman of various committees. He even was board chairman a few times.
He wasn't just there for show. He was really involved in shaping those policies and making decisions that affected generations of students.
Precisely. He was a real driving force behind many of the initiatives that helped turn Singapore Polytechnic into the amazing institution it is today. They're known for focusing on practical skills and industry relevance.
It's incredible to think about the impact of all his work. How many lives were touched by his passion for education?
Oh, countless, I'm sure. And his influence didn't stop at Singapore Polytechnic. Remember his roles in founding the Science Council and CSIR. Those organizations played a huge role in advancing scientific research and technological innovation in Singapore, all contributing to a stronger workforce.
It all connects back to his vision of a nation driven by progress and empowered by knowledge. Seeing how all these pieces of his career fit together, it's remarkable.
It speaks volumes about his strategic thinking and his commitment to building a brighter future for Singapore. He saw the connection between education, science, and economic development, and he dedicated himself to nurturing those areas.
We've definitely established that Dr. Lee was a champion for lifelong learning and that his vision led to the Singapore Professional Center. But tell me, what about the center itself? What kind of impact did it have on Singapore's workforce? What programs or initiatives really stood out?
Well, one of the key things about the center was its focus on practicality. Everything was relevant to the workforce. They didn't just offer theoretical courses. They partnered with industry experts to develop programs that directly tackled the skill gaps in the market.
So a very customized approach to professional development, adapting to the needs of various professions and industries.
That's exactly it. They recognized that a one-size-fits-all method just wouldn't work. They needed to be flexible and adaptable to meet the evolving needs of all those different sectors.
Do we know about any programs that were particularly groundbreaking or ahead of their time?
The material we have doesn't dive into specific program details, but we can get some clues from Dr. Lee's vision. Given his strong belief in science and technology, especially through his leadership at CSIR, it's very likely the Singapore Professional Center also embraced those emerging technologies. They probably even incorporated them into their programs.
That makes total sense. To prepare the workforce for the future, meant equipping them with the skills to navigate that rapidly changing tech landscape. It's exciting to think about how forward-thinking they might have been. Imagine them teaching computer programming back in the 60s, or exploring the possibilities of automation and robotics.
It's definitely an intriguing thought. While we can't be certain about those specifics, it's totally within the realm of possibility, especially considering Dr. Lee's visionary leadership. He understood how different fields connect.
What we can say for sure is that the Singapore Professional Center created this dynamic learning space where professionals from all walks of life could come together. They were expanding their knowledge, embracing new challenges, and ultimately contributing to Singapore's growth.
And that's the heart of Dr. Lee's legacy, right? He knew a nation's strength lies in its people, and he dedicated his life to empowering them through education, innovation, and that constant drive for excellence.
It's an inspiring story. It makes me wonder, what would Dr. Lee think of our 21st century learning landscape? All these advancements in technology and access to information, would he be excited or maybe a bit concerned?
It's a great question, one worth exploring. Maybe we should do that in our final segment. We can reflect on Dr. Lee Kum Tatt's enduring impact and consider the lessons his legacy holds for us today in this vastly different world.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and legacy of Dr. Lee Kum Tatt. We've gone through his diverse achievements, from those exquisite gold-plated orchids to his founding of the Singapore Professional Center. It really showcases his passion for lifelong learning.
A fascinating journey for sure. Tracing his impact on Singapore's development has been quite eye-opening.
It has. But as we wrap up, I want to bring our focus to the present. Dr. Lee's vision, it was so forward-thinking, especially that emphasis on continuous learning. What do you think he would make of today's learning environment?
Ooh, now that's a thought-provoking question. Can you imagine Dr. Lee stepping into a world of online courses, virtual reality, personalized learning through AI? Quite a departure from those traditional classrooms and libraries he was used to.
It really is mind-boggling how much has changed. Do you think he would be overwhelmed by it all, or would he be excited?
Knowing Dr. Lee, his innovative spirit, and that dedication to expanding access to education, I think he'd be thrilled. Think about it. Online platforms connect learners from every corner of the world. It's breaking down those geographical barriers that used to exist.
You're so right. He was all about making learning accessible and engaging. And these technologies, they have the power to completely change how we learn and who has access to knowledge. It's amazing.
Exactly. And then there's AI, personalizing education, tailoring it to individual needs and learning styles. Dr. Lee knew that not everyone learns the same way. I think he'd see AI as this incredible tool to address those differences.
It's fantastic how his idea of lifelong learning has become even more relevant in the digital age. But technology aside, what broader lessons can we take from Dr. Lee's life, his approach to work, his life, things we can apply to our own paths?
One that stands out is the importance of interdisciplinary thinking. Dr. Lee wasn't stuck in just one field. He combined his scientific background with his love for education and economic development. He just understood that the problems we face, they rarely fit into just one category.
He truly embodied that interconnectedness of knowledge, didn't he? It's like he viewed the world as this big puzzle, and each piece of knowledge, each experience added to the whole picture.
Exactly. And that's such a valuable lesson, especially in today's complex world. We need to see the connections, draw from different fields, and embrace multiple perspectives. It's not enough to just specialize anymore.
Absolutely. Adaptability, willingness to learn new things, to think critically and creatively. These are the skills needed to navigate the 21st century.
And those are the very lessons within Dr. Lee Kum Tatt's legacy. Innovation, lifelong learning, embracing change, striving for excellence. These things matter.
A powerful message, and one that resonates deeply with me. As we end this deep dive, I hope our listeners feel inspired by Dr. Lee's story, to approach their own lives with that same curiosity, ambition, and a passion for continuous growth.
Well said. The learning journey never ends. Each day brings new opportunities to expand our knowledge, question our assumptions, and make a difference, just like Dr. Lee did.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the life and legacy of Dr. Lee Kum Tatt. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and always chase your passions.